I have just a short question for the Defense Minister of Canada. Public opinion is mostly strictly against the involvement of the armies in countries like Afghanistan. So what should be the reason or thing to convince the public that we should stay there even longer, all the victims and so on?
Thank you for the question. It saves lives. It allows young girls to go to school. It allows immunization of children who are ill to take place. All of the important development, reconstruction, diplomatic progress that we are seeing in Afghanistan today happens under the umbrella of security. By allowing aid workers, diplomats, NGOs to be in Afghanistan, as we are seeing today, only occurs when soldiers are there protecting them, including the Afghan soldiers and police. So there is a direct correlation between the programs that we deliver that literally save lives, improve lives, make progress for the people of Afghanistan and for their government, again, to achieve the lasting effect. These things are occurring simultaneously. Did you know, for example, there are now over 7 million more children in school than when the mission began? And one half, so close to 3 million of those are girls. Girls were prohibited from going to school in Afghanistan. We've immunized millions of children against the scourge of polio. Afghanistan is one of the few countries left on the planet that has epidemic proportions of polio. We are building schools. We are building roads, infrastructure to allow communities to connect, to allow commerce to flourish. In southern Afghanistan, they're growing more wheat than poppy for the first time in 50 years. So that's less heroin on the streets of cities like this one and capitals around the world. And instead, Afghans are now feeding themselves and producing cash crops, beets, barley, pomegranate. Other crops are replacing it because we're building water systems for them. We're allowing electricity. We're giving agricultural advice and equipment. All of the development and programs that I've mentioned can't occur without the protection provided by soldiers. Slovenian soldiers, Canadians, British, Americans, Dutch. There are close to 60 countries now working together in this UN-backed, NATO-led mission. And yes, it's been a challenge, to say the least. Canada is now approaching 10 years on the ground in Afghanistan, twice as long as our involvement in the Second World War. But this is the challenge of our generation. And what are the alternatives? If we are not there, we know that Afghanistan in the past was an incubator and exporter of terrorism. And we experienced it in North America. There were Canadians who died on 9/11 as well. So, we are there making very serious efforts to ensure the lasting progress will be achieved and that the Afghan government can assume these responsibilities and the Afghan National Security Forces, police and army, can do the work we're doing, and then we can come home. Slovenian soldiers, Canadians can return to their country, heads high, proud, and with the knowledge that they've made a real difference.
But we don't know when yet.
Well, we do know that every day that we're there, we're saving lives. We do know that every program that we're delivering is allowing for further progress. And will there be other missions? Will there be other need? Most certainly. Whether it's Africa, whether it's other countries who are requesting our help. We just had the experience of going to Haiti. We rolled up 2,000 soldiers within 24 hours and started a humanitarian mission in Haiti, in our own region, while we were in Afghanistan and while we were preparing for the Olympics and the G8 and G20. But that's what soldiers are able to do. Soldiers are what I would describe as the delivery agents of all of the other humanitarian work that countries like yours and ours try to achieve.
I have one question for you. Canada also leads one provincial reconstruction team in Kandahar. How do you see the role of civilian functional specialists for the success of the mission?
Well, this is what is described in different ways as the comprehensive approach. We call it the whole of government approach, and it's where you have government agencies, defense, obviously public safety agencies, international development, working with the private sector, working with non-governmental organizations. And so it's done in a tiered approach. When you've been able to achieve a certain level of security, then you can follow through with the development and the program delivery. And these provincial reconstruction teams have really become the working model. And no matter what you call them or how you describe them, this has allowed us to, as I described earlier, touch the lives of millions of Afghans. And to do so in a coordinated way. And also, let's not forget the United Nations, who are there as well. So you have NATO, the United Nations, you have NGOs like the Red Cross and World Vision, working under the umbrella of security, and working, of course, in a very joined-up way with the Afghan government and their various departments, including their defense. So comprehensive approach means trying to thread the needle in all of these various departments while simultaneously delivering the desired effect, the result of programs that really impact directly on the lives of Afghans. Education is perhaps the most obvious one that we can point to. That is going to change a whole generation of children in Afghanistan, and particularly having women participating more fully in society. What more admirable goal can there be than human rights and equality? And you can see it happening before your eyes. I've been in Afghanistan now 12 times in the last 4 years, and you can see the difference. Each visit, you see the progress that's happening. Yes, there's been frustration and setback, but when you go to a school and you see a young 14 or 15-year-old girl who was never allowed to get an education throughout her life, and the enthusiasm and the passion that they have for learning, that is what inspires people to say we have to continue to do more.